calling you out, whichever Jonas she's with.
Joe?
I only know
Mike?
What Joe.
What
know.
are the other ones?
I don't know, like
Todd?
Tyson?
Todd and Tyson Jonas. Hell yeah. Fuck, that's gotta be it, right? Todd and Tyson. That's my canon.
Make a poll on Twitter. We'll figure this shit out.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. I'm your co-host Nate, and this is the other one, Zach.
Ew! What up?
There he is. Alright, so what's up? Oh yeah, that's encouraging.
I have shoulder pain that I was just bitching about.
Yeah, that's true.
It's uncomfortable.
Maybe we'll make that into a cold open somehow, so that way that it all flows together.
It all comes full circle.
It's all part of my plan.
Enjoy my pain, listeners. It's for you.
So, for returning listeners, thank you for coming back. For new listeners,
welcome.
What the fuck is up? But we are a badass pair who are going to talk about some Game of Thrones now.
Yeah, we like to think that we're somewhat well-knowledged. We get pretty schooled on our knowledge pretty frequently, but I think that's sort of
part of the
fun
reason,
of being a fan and growing as a fan is learning that you're wrong in some things, and that's okay because you can still enjoy it and be wrong about things. So
yes.
If you're new, if you're brand new and you came from the show, don't feel discouraged. Start reading with us, and
you can start with chapter 1, which is Bran, like he said, brand new.
Brand new. All right.
That's funny. That's funny. So anyway, this week we're reading Ned 12, which means that the last chapter from last episode was Sansa 3.
Sansa 3.
Out of the mouth of
actually,
babes.
I mean, even continuing that, the chapter before Sansa was Eddard 11. It was kind of a real quick sequence of events.
Back to back.
So we had Ned doing some ruling on the Iron Throne, and he had sent Lord Beric Dondarrion to hunt down Sir Gregor Clegane, Clegane the Mountain, and behead him, give him the king's justice, because he had raided and raped and looted and pillaged a couple of holdfasts.
He was a brigand.
So we got that judgment, and it was very controversial, and because Clegane is a bannerman to Lord Tywin directly. And so we picked up in Sansa's, with Sansa sort of responding to that. She was more upset that Sir Loras didn't get sent for that mission.
We also got a little bit more information on some of the other court holdings that happened throughout the day.
Yeah, there was a Black Brother there.
Yeah,
Yoren had come to plead for some men.
Yep, and then she got summoned by Lord Eddard.
Yeah. Get back in the trailer, Neddard.
Yep, and he was telling Arya and Sansa that he's sending them home to Winterfell.
Yeah, the shit's getting too whack up here in the capital.
That spawned a conversation.
An argument. Sansa was being prissy. Arya wanted Syria to come with them. She was cool. She hates the capital.
And Sansa spouted out that Joffrey's a great man, unlike his father, the king, that drunken king.
Yeah.
And so Ned had the realization
out of
finally.
the mouth of babes.
And that brings us to where we're at here with Ned 12.
Yeah, so at this point, I'm assuming a day or so has passed since his revelation.
Yeah, I think it even might have mentioned, because Vayenpool took some time to find the boat that he hired, but I didn't write down the number.
But anyway, we get that old bitch Pycelle telling Ned that he should be thankful for the pain. The pain means that his leg is mending and knitting itself, and Ned says that he'll be thankful when his leg is healed and the pain stops. That's when he'll be thankful.
Pycelle then puts a little bottle on his bedside table.
Here, take some drugs.
Yeah, and so
milk of the poppy.
And Ned says that he's sleeping too much already, because we know that milk of the poppy eases the pain, puts you to sleep.
Yeah, it does.
Do you think there's anything in there? Anything?
I don't think it's poisonous, but I think it's definitely let's keep him sedated. Milk of the poppy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And unclear.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely was the tactic with Jon Arryn as well. Let's keep him quiet and asleep.
And I think we mentioned that as well back then.
And so Pycelle says that sleep is the great healer, and Ned says, I thought that was you, kind of quick-wittedly. And Pycelle says that it's actually a good sign that you're in good humor, my lord, yada, yada, yada.
But I'm going to ruin your good humor.
Yeah, so he says that there's been a raven this morning from a letter from Lord Tywin for the Queen, and I thought you should know.
I just think of it, it's just Quirrell from...
It's such a sniveling little hat, because even Ned's not buying it.
No,
I thought you should know, my lord. Fuck off, Pycelle, you old
Ned
bitch.
gives the dark wings, dark words.
Yeah.
And what of it?
Yeah.
And Pycelle tells him that Tywin is greatly wroth about Ned fucking sending the men after Gregor Clegane. And
as I feared he would be, you recall in council, I said as much.
Remember I told you?
Yeah, I did not tell you, because I told you.
Mm-hmm. Ned says, let him be wroth.
I don't give a fuck.
And then he gets this little kind of flash into every time that he thinks about Jaime Lannister and his smile.
Every time his leg throbs.
That's it. Right, I had it backwards.
Yeah.
Every time his leg throbs, he pictures Jaime Lannister smiling, that crooked
and Jory dead in his arms.
And Jory dead in his arms.
It's just, his broken leg, he associates that pain that he literally is walking around with.
He's developed, like, almost this hatred similar to, I was thinking...
Well, it's if you think about, like, you know, if you've ever had a serious injury, it tends to pulse with your heartbeat. Yeah. So it's like a pulse for him of Jaime Lannister, dead Jory, Jaime Lannister, dead Jory. Like, this hatred for the Lannisters is getting built up, especially for Jaime and Tywin.
Of Robert's hatred towards Rhaegar. Building...
I mean, even Ned has his limits, and some of his best men were slain. And so it says that Ned says, Lord Beric rides beneath the king's banner. If Lord Tywin interferes with anything, especially the king's justice, he'll have the king to answer to. And Pycelle immediately hurries out.
Yeah, because I like his line there. The only thing that Robert loves more than hunting is making war with lords that are
defying him. And absolutely, that's Robert's MO. So Pycelle in a huff immediately rushes out, and Ned is not fooled. He has no doubt that he's running right to Cersei, and
then he even says it to himself. Thought you should know, my lord. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, Pycelle. As if Cersei had not instructed him to pass along her father's threat. And so when Pycelle's gone, Ned calls for a cup of honey wine.
I do like that he also hopes that Ned's response will rattle Cersei.
Oh, yeah. Just
and
rattle their cages.
It really puts it more into context, though, once you think what's going to happen at the end of the chapter. He knows that he's going to do that.
Yeah.
And so he's really hoping
he's trying to get her shook.
I'm not scared.
Yeah.
I'm above this.
Ned is trying to play the game here. And, I mean, unfortunately.
So, like you mentioned, after Pycelle left, Ned called for a cup of honeyed wine.
Yeah, it doesn't cloud his mind as much as the milk of the poppy would, and he needs to be able to think right now, because 1,000 times he had asked himself what Jon Arryn would have done or was trying to do with the information he learned.
Or perhaps did do.
Which at this point, as a full spoiler reread, we know that Ned has come to the conclusion that Joffrey is the product of incest from Jaime and Cersei. He hasn't quite said that yet. It's meant to be more of a powerful punch later on, but
he'll even give us some supporting evidence.
He's trying to figure it out and piece together what was Jon Arryn trying to do with that information. Was he gonna go to Robert? Did he tell Stannis? It's all these moving parts for Ned now that he has that last piece, which fucking took him forever to get there.
It's also the fact, though, that Littlefinger is the actual culprit
of Jon Arryn.
So, Cersei is going to be accused of this, and she doesn't ever deny any of it.
Yeah, no, because she and her pride and her anger.
And because of the way that he's coupled it with the incest, and he's almost made it all one thing. Like, Jon Arryn learned about the incest, so you killed him. But Pycelle, while he might have been attempting as well or something, it was Lysa who ensured that it happened.
Yeah.
And so, like, nobody's really certain between the Pycelle and fucking Lannisters.
Yeah.
But
well, Ned starts even wondering if maybe Jon Arryn did get a chance to act, and that's why he died.
Right.
Was he was doing something, or he managed to attempt something. But he thinks then that it's so odd the way children's innocent eyes can see the things that men miss. And someday, when she is older, Ned will tell Sansa how she had made it all come clear for him. And so we get the flashback to the other night with his daughters. And he thinks of the line, he's not the least bit like that drunken old king. And that this is when we learned that this was the sword that killed Jon Arryn.
So there's a little line right before that I quoted that I really liked. The simple truth of it had twisted inside him, cold as death.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's kind of picturing it as a sword there, that twisting blade.
And I really like the way Ned starts to think about this and describe this, because he says this was the sword that killed Jon Arryn, and it will kill Robert as well, a slower death but full as certain. And so it says that, so Ned is contemplating all of this, that like what this implies, and the fact that Joffrey has been named Crown Prince, like there is clearly some intent here. And so Littlefinger shows up about an hour after Pycelle leaves, and
so I did want to also, again, before you mention the last part before Littlefinger showed up, is it says legs may heal, some betrayals fester and poison the soul. And so basically saying, he might get, his leg might be shattered, but it will heal. Telling this to Robert, that your children are not it's going to kill that man. Yeah. And then he's going to kill everyone. This is a huge betrayal. Robert has thought that these three were his children, and they're not. And that's a huge deal just to a man in general, but let alone the king, where heritage and birthright is so important. So Littlefinger comes in about an hour after Pycelle leaves, and he saunters in saying, "Oh, I don't have long. I'm feasting with Lady Tonda, and I think she means to fatten me up, and she's got a fat daughter." Just Littlefinger and everywhere. And it's obnoxious. And he asks Ned how his leg is, and Ned says that it's painful and inflamed. And this is my favorite Littlefinger line of this
chapter. There's an itch that's driving me mad, and Littlefinger cocks an eyebrow. And go ahead.
He just urges him not to have any other horses fall on his leg.
I mean, it's a pretty surefire way.
Sound advice. Ned, don't let horses fall on your leg and it won't be shattered.
There you go.
Problem solved.
So he urges Ned to heal quickly, because Varys has heard some ominous whispers from the west that free riders and sellswords have been flocking to Casterly Rock, and not for Lord Tywin's sound advice.
So I liked this line there, because how much do you think that's accurate? Because I feel that there are going to be sellswords and mercenaries heading to Casterly Rock, but do you think that he heard this news through Varys, and it's this little thing that like he's implying happened at the small council meeting he wasn't there for? Or do you think it's Littlefinger just trying to put urgency into the matter to get Ned make a move sooner while he's injured?
And especially in this case, with every good lie, there's a sprinkle of truth. So I definitely think there's gathering forces. I could see it being Jaime more so than Tywin now, gathering people. But I whether it was at council or not, I think it's pretty widespread at this point that the West has been itching for something, and so I think this is Littlefinger trying to spin it that way. That there's an urgency here. But wherever he got the information, I kind of don't think matters whether it was the small council Ned missed or whatever. I think he's just trying to stir the pot even more.
So anyway, Ned asks Peter how long he thinks Robert's going to be hunting.
Yeah, is there any word from the king? And Littlefinger prudently answers that given his choice, he'd stay in the woods until both you and the queen died of old age.
Incredibly accurate statement.
But I imagine he'll return once he's killed something. And then he goes on to say that they found the White Hart, or what was left of it. Wolves got to it first. So, based on imagery, we in some of the very first chapters, we get the dead direwolf with the stag antler.
This is wolves killing a stag.
Killing a magical pure white...
Essentially a stag, a deer. Yeah. And so it's the reverse of what we saw. So do you think it's just stating that Ned got Robert killed?
I feel like this is much more foreboding. Like the way the what was left of it, the wolves came and tore this thing apart brutally. And so I'm wondering if that's not further foreshadowing in the series.
The Starks will be taking
the Starks
out
will
the
absolutely.
Lannisters.
I'm thinking destroy the Baratheon line, but I mean, what is left of the Baratheon line? We got King Stannis, Gendry, Edric Storm, Maya Stone. I think there's a couple others that aren't named, but as far as true-born Baratheons, it's just Stannis and Shireen at this point. And so maybe the Starks are going to have something to do with Stannis' downfall.
He is up north.
This is such an image. And, and it says
because they only found like a hoof?
Yeah, a hoof and an antler.
Yeah, that's
it. And just little bits.
But there was rumors of a monstrous boar.
Yeah, Robert was furious that this thing was dead before he got the chance to. But then somebody mentioned this monstrous boar deeper in. Prince Joffrey returned this morning with the Royces, Balon Swan, and some 20 others. The rest are still out there with the king.
So you notice he didn't mention the Hound's
name?
Yeah. Like, why did he...
I think it's just kind of assumed that where the prince goes,
well, that's what
Joffrey
that's
goes,
what I was
especially to Littlefinger, who's been there so long. Ned is, with Ned, he would announce, Prince Joffrey came with the Hound and, Balon Swan. But Littlefinger's been there so long that where Joffrey goes, the Hound is. So I think it's just that. I don't think there's any... Because I thought about that, too. I was like, did he exclude him for any reason? And
But it might have been in one of the ones included in those 20 that he mentioned. But Ned asked about the Hound, and I like that he says that the Hound is the only other person in King's Landing, now that Jaime's gone, that he's really worried about.
Yeah. That's an interesting...
I think I almost find it funny, like, because it's that... Granted, if Joffrey does sick the Hound on somebody and the Hound decides to follow through...
He'll do it.
That person's fucked.
But it's essentially just following orders.
But he's not the...
Under the orders of the shit little prince.
That's all it is.
But, I thought that was interesting, too, that there's much bigger people to fear. And honestly, I think Ned, a little further on here, because he says that... Littlefinger says that the Hound returned with Joffrey and went straight to the Queen. And then Littlefinger jokingly says that he would have loved to have been a fly in the rushes to hear the reaction to Lord Beric Dondarrion riding out to behead his brother.
To see the face on the Hound.
And Ned says that even a blind man could see that the Hound loathed his brother. And Littlefinger replies, but he was the Hound's to loathe, not yours to kill. Once Beric lops the summit off of our mountain, all the Clegane lands and incomes will pass to Sandor, but do not hold your hand out in expectation of thanks, not from him. So I actually think that assessment by Littlefinger is wrong.
I do too.
I don't think I don't think he'd be happy about the lands and title.
I think he'd be happy about the fact that his brother met with justice.
Yeah, it'd be a man. I didn't get to kill him. That sucks, but good. Somebody did.
Somebody finally
cut
got
his
that
fucking head off.
Exactly. I agree.
And so I think Ned kind of has the right of it here, where I think the Hound would be upset that he didn't get the killing blow on him because of that personal grudge, but in the end, I don't think he'd hold any grudge toward Ned any more so than he does because Ned is the honorable fool that the Hound had to detest. But so we got all that interesting bit. Littlefinger begins to step out, saying that he's got to get to his lunch, but he spies the massive tome that Ned's been reading, the lineages, and he says, This is tedious reading if I ever saw it," and then asks him, "A sleeping potion, my lord?" Which Littlefinger,
it's funny. And Ned, thank God he does not, considers telling Baelish everything, not just what he knows through Cat and the dagger and stuff, but all the incest, all the stuff that Littlefinger orchestrated for him.
Yeah,
and so he knows what he's.
What do you think Littlefinger would have done had he?
I think he would have
just continued fanning the flames for Lannister.
Yeah,
right?
I definitely think that's it.
Do you think it would have thrown him off guard had Ned come to him with it all?
No, I think because he sees the book there, he knows.
Yeah,
because then he.
Well, no, he definitely knows because he's been leaving Ned the trail
Baelish
to follow.
Because this isn't TV Baelish, this guy knows what's going on. And
but
I think he has an out. If Ned were this is what's happening, Peter would have some kind of response for that.
I was just wondering if maybe Ned's really true only option here was to fully lean into his honorable streak, and maybe the only way to kind of catch Littlefinger up would be to just openly trust him and throw out everything he knows just to get it back from Littlefinger. And maybe in there's some I know Littlefinger's not going to slip up, but I would at least argue that there is potential where if Ned just opened the floodgates about all of it, it was open, didn't use fucking lions and wolves, was straight up Joffrey, Marcella, and Tommen are the incest products of and was just so open about it that there is a potential he could have caught Littlefinger kind of like, oh, like I didn't expect him to approach me with this much. I expected him to kind of hold it and do his honorable Ned Stark thing.
I mean, it might catch him by surprise a little bit if in that case.
Well, that's it. I'm thinking, like, maybe that was Ned's only option here, was to kind of just lay those cards out, because otherwise he's just everybody's puppet here. Littlefinger doesn't give a shit.
See, but the person he really should be doing that with, honestly, is Varys.
Yeah, well, no, that's it. He should be laying it all out with Varys, but he openly distrusts
Which, speaking
Varys.
of, because once they get through that, Baelish leaves. Littlefinger.
Ned tells him that
departs.
Jon Arryn was studying this volume when he died, and Littlefinger says that death must have come as a blessed relief, and gives him a bow and takes out.
And so then he starts thinking about Littlefinger and Varys and Pycelle.
Yeah, there's no one besides his own housemen that he can trust in this entire city. And even
Barry the Bold.
Barristan,
Yeah. Because all that Barry would tell him is do your duty.
No, he's got the right of it.
And that's it. Like, Barristan wouldn't be like... Because he would know that the king's going to... See, I disagree. I think that Barristan would take action.
I feel like he would be just like Ned, where he wouldn't want the children slaughtered.
Exactly.
But he would want something done.
Something needs to be done.
He knows what the Lannisters
he knows what's
are.
Right.
And he knows that...
he's the Kingsguard.
And that's it. He's seen Joffrey's at his worst answer, and Cersei just being a cunt, and so
he would.
I think Sir Barristan would actually, especially with his Targaryen and what we know in the future for him going to Dany.
Ned.
I think he would have backed Ned too.
And I think it's a mistake that Ned didn't go to Barry the Bold.
He should have gone to him at least for some advice, even if it is just to do your duty.
Yeah, that's it.
If that's Barristan's advice,
coming from Barristan,
weigh
that has good.
You need to weigh that. Yeah, so I disagree. This is when Ned, I think, really starts tripping up as far as who to trust and who not.
Yeah.
He considers telling Littlefinger everything, which is just telling you where his head's at. Littlefinger's the worst person. He's the one who's done everything.
Barristan the Bold is the
or
best.
Sir Barristan.
And Varys,
is even questionable.
Exactly.
Because we still don't know.
And he doesn't know that either.
Yeah, and definitely
and
doesn't
so
know.
I can absolutely not or understand him not going to Varys, but Barristan, man, like right there. Renly, I don't know that I would go to before Robert.
Oh no, Renly's a tough call.
Well, I was just going through the small council.
I would definitely attempt another communication with Stannis, and because Stannis is one I would want.
That's a tough letter to send out.
Well, not even letter, just recalling him, or at least saying, we need you and I meet, fuck all the court bullshit. I think I know what's up. I need to talk to you, type thing. Because Stannis is no small ally to have.
Right.
But anyway, Ned starts thinking that time was short. The king is going to return, and honor would compel Ned to tell him everything he had learned. He would just have to. He wouldn't be able to, in good conscience, hold it from him. So it says that we get that Vanpool had managed to arrange a ship, the Wind Witch.
This is the part that I've been most excited to talk about for this whole chapter. This ship, the Wind Witch, out of Braavos.
Yeah.
Do you think Jaqen H'ghar's on that boat?
Oh shit, potentially. Holy shit.
He's coming into King's Landing to make the change into the guy that's in the jail.
No,
what if he's coming right fucking now?
That's great.
On the Wind Witch
I'd
out
never
of
paid
Braavos.
attention to a boat coming in from Braavos. Yeah, this is him making his way into the city. I would 100% believe that.
Because I was thinking well,
are we dense? Write us in and let us know if that's already been talked about and we're just being dense and we're late to the party. But that's kind of blowing my mind.
Yeah,
I never thought about that.
I was like,
because I was more concerned with the name because I was thinking of honestly I was thinking of the Ghost of High Hart and sort of the Woods Witch that Arya later meets. That I thought maybe that was significant, but it's a fucking ship out of Braavos taking I think you're right there. I think Jaqen H'ghar is on there.
I was like, I want, because there's always been that question, is Jaqen H'ghar making himself in that jail?
Well, and that's it. They're faceless men. How the fuck would he get captured?
So did he just go in and walk right in there?
But the why of it.
And so maybe that's...
Unless, of course, you buy that Syrio Farrell is Jaqen H'ghar, in which case he was already in the city. But I don't, so I really like that I think this is a very small slip-in of, this ship was coming in from Braavos, so it's probably already at King's Landing. It's waiting and restocking, and it's going to go and
it's exactly
hit Winterfell
in
because
3
Lord
days
Stark just... Yeah, so we learn that it's in 3 days for Arya and Sansa, so he can no longer use the concern for the girl's safety as his reason to delay telling Robert anything. So it says that last night, this is the part I've been most excited to talk about. Last night, he dreamt of Rhaegar's children. Tywin had laid the bodies beneath the Iron Throne, wrapped in the crimson cloaks of his house guard, which was very clever, as the crimson did well to not let the blood show through too much.
Continue.
I will continue. The little princess had been barefoot, still dressed in her bedgown, and the boy...
He could not let that happen again.
He must find some way to save the children.
So now he's referring here to the Lannister children.
Yes.
Tommen, Myrcella, and even Joffrey, because Ned is still a child.
All right, there's so much here I want to unpack. But first, it's interesting because it was Tywin who did it to the Targaryen children, but he's assuming Robert's going to do that to Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen, which is one...
as well as killing Cersei.
As well, oh, absolutely, Cersei's fucking dead.
Jaime as well, if he can get hold of him.
Any Lannister.
Jaime would kick the fuck out of Robert.
Jaime would fuck Robert up. But as the king, he can just have him seized, and then it's ill and pain. But... yeah, so one, it's interesting that he's associating Robert with that kind of violence. Like, he thinks Robert's to that point now. So
he will be when he hits him with that news,
when he gets this betrayal.
Which I don't blame him or underestimate that
no,
from any man,
I don't
really,
either.
if that kind of news broke to any guy.
And just going back to it, the other part, of course, with knowing that supposedly Aegon Targaryen, full spoiler reread podcast, supposedly Aegon Targaryen is alive and well over in the Free Cities right now doing his training. We know that supposedly Varys spirited this child out, that this is not, supposedly, this is not Aegon Targaryen. And so I'm assuming that the boy, and then the pause, the boy, is in reference to how devastated this child's face is. Just the gore of it.
The fact that it was dashed against the wall by the mountain.
I honestly, I believe that's being nice. I could see the mountain having stomped on it, on the head particularly.
Yes, it was unimaginably
or maybe
grotesque.
not even...
unrecognizable.
Actually, that is the interesting question, isn't it? If Varys spirited this boy out... never mind. I thought it through myself. So Varys, I'm assuming, got there seconds before the mountain did. He did the swap
hours before the way that guy moves.
True, yeah, a couple hours before the mountain did the swap out, and then it was just some innocent poor babe laying there that got his head dashed in. According to Varys, anyway. That's in believing that they actually got this child out and that he's truly Aegon. But just
it really does get backed by this evidence that boy's face was mashed to where it was unrecognizable. So you can't confirm or deny.
But they left the princess.
So
that she was sort of, and this is what Theon does with the butcher's boys in Winterfell. Right. Like, get someone that looks the right size, and then the princess there and her face not being mashed, just her being stabbed, kind of lends credibility to that. Here's the one, this other unrecognizable one must be the brother because he's just got fucked up in a different way. And so that just hits me. Ned's thinking about the children here. And Varys, we supposedly know, is supposed to be thinking about the children. So,
but Ned considers the men that Robert pardoned.
Robert could be merciful.
And so he thinks about Barry the Bold and Varys and Balon Greyjoy.
Pycelle.
That old bitch, Pycelle. And he says, he's willing to offer them retention of their lands and their titles if they swear fealty to him.
Yeah.
But this is not this was something else. A poison in the dark, a knife thrust to the soul.
Yeah. This kind of betrayal is not something Robert can forget. For years now, he's thought that these were his true-born children. And they're not. They're the product of incest, which, since the Targaryens have been overthrown, has been seen as unnatural, abomination-producing, just terrible, disgusting. And so, Ned knows that this one isn't going to just be forgiven.
Yeah, and he says, this he could never forgive, no more than Rhaegar. He will kill them all, Ned realized. And it's just that dawning moment of, holy shit, when I tell him this, he's
going to lose it.
They're going to be
And he's the
fucking
worst
dead.
possible person in the Seven Kingdoms to lose his collective shit.
This is also his downfall, in my opinion.
Ned's?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Well, the fact that this causes him to feel bad for Cersei and the children, and that's why he calls her to tell her that.
Oh, yeah,
because he's trying to warn her, this is your time to run.
I believe, and if it's, I can't confirm yet if it's just a showism, but I believe later on in the book, it's Varys who says it's your mercy who kills the king. Like, going and seeing Cersei, telling her that he knows, that kicks her into, like, I need to silence motherfuckers now. Joffrey needs to be on the throne.
Exactly.
Now. Robert needs to die. Now. Ned Stark needs to be fucking exiled, sent to the wall, his tongue cut out. I don't give a fuck now. Like, that is the worst thing he could do. But in pulling it back to where we are, because we'll get there, it says, yet his duty will not allow him to keep silent. He can't not tell Robert for the good of the children, for the good, like, to not have Robert lose his shit. He just can't do that. He owes it to the realm, to Robert, to Jon Arryn, and to Bran, who surely stumbled onto some part of the truth, or else why would they try to slay him? So again, one more thing to pin. Right. That honestly is just Prince Joffrey trying to appeal to his father.
Yeah, I mean, so granted, him getting pushed out of the tower, yes.
Oh, absolutely.
But again, Ned
never... but the why else try to slay him, I kind of think he's got the dagger specifically.
Well, that's it. But that's what I was going to mention, is when he's talking to Cersei about it, and I'm going to bring up that during that again, because the way she responds, but he never actually refers to the push or the assassination attempt.
Yeah, no.
And so she is just accepting
and I mean,
that.
It doesn't even feel contrived, like George R.R. Martin was kind of being cheeky and like left it out. It just feels like natural that Ned would roll all this anger into one big ball.
Absolutely.
You tried to kill my son. Like, that's it. That it doesn't matter if it's the tower or the dagger.
No.
Like, it happened because you were there. And so he's been thinking all this shit for a while, because it's later that afternoon that he summons Tom.
Oh, man.
Whom his children call Fat Tom. And
Fat Tom is the head of his guard.
Yeah.
So, and I like to think of it, because he himself says it a couple times in this chapter, and it was from Sansa's before, out of the mouths of babes, all the children know that Tom is a dipshit.
Fat Tom.
He's a slow dumbass that they run between his... Arya skirted between his legs.
Arya doesn't think he's very clever.
He's the one that knocked on the door and called in for her, and said nobody's here, and he left. She figured it was because he was so stupid he actually believed her.
Yeah, Ned says with Jory dead, R.I.P., and Alan gone, Alan was accompanying Beric Dondarrion along with some other men, Ned had to promote Fat Tom and give him command of the household guard.
And, like, Fat Tom's good shit, man. He'll drink a beer with you.
No, Ned likes him. Ned's not shitting on him here, which is, of course, just great.
And he's not quite head of guard quality.
Ned's filled with a vague sense of disquiet, and that perhaps he shouldn't have been so quick to send off a lot of his guard, and especially so many of his best swords, leaving behind the Fat Toms, the ones who really aren't the best at protecting people. And so Ned tells Tom Ard to help him to the Godswood. Tom Ard asks if it's smart, and he just tells him,
So he summons Varley, and I just thought of Chris Varley, and he's just this big old round guy.
With an arm over each man's shoulder, Ned leaves the tower and crosses down to the Bailey. And Ned tells them that he wants the guard doubled, that no one is to come in or out of the Tower of the Hand without Ned's leave.
And they try to argue about how little guards there are left right now.
Double
he's
shifts.
It's only for a short time, just do it. Like, it needs to be done. And then because they sit him down in the grass there in the Godswood. Well,
it says that they continue on to the Godswood after Ned tells him he wants double guards on the tower. And it says that the Godswood is empty, as is normal down here in the south, because they don't keep these gods. And Ned's leg is screaming in pain as they lower him down to the grass next to the Hart tree, which is an oak.
It's an oak. It's faceless. It doesn't have the face, but he can still feel the presence of his gods here.
And his leg hurts a little less.
And now, do you think that's just like the placebo type thing, where he's just he's comforted. He's at ease more. He's a little more relaxed. He just made a trip walking all the way down there. His leg hurts. Now he's sitting.
Yeah, because I have to, because I think the it's not the Godswood that does it. I think it's the werewoods specifically. That do it. Yeah. So I think it's just sort of placebo.
He was walking all on it just now to get down there. Now he's sitting in the grass comfortably. More comfortable than walking.
And he knows what he's about to do, and he's kind of comforted by home-ish, whatever reminder he could get. So he hands Tom Ard a paper and tells him to deliver it at once. Tom Ard looks at the seal and asks him if he's sure, and Ned just says, "Do as I command." And he's not sure how long he's out there waiting, but it's peaceful and quiet, and he really enjoys it, so he doesn't mind. And it says that she came to him at sunset as the clouds reddened above the walls and towers.
This made the image that immediately popped in my head again are the Red Mountains of Dorne. And it's just anytime he's painting these backdrops, these backgrounds with this red, it just seems to be happening a lot in Ned chapters.
I don't know, like when I pictured it, because it's an image and a half, just to me, it kind of, I don't know, it all pulled into this sort of like there's just this red hue that covers the towers, the city, like in Lannister red. Like Cersei is just all encompassing at this moment.
That's pretty sick, actually.
That was sort of what I got. It's just that her presence is so fucking big. Like she is here, man. Like she's just fucking here, and it says.
But she shows up dressed plainly.
Yes,
simply.
She had come alone as he had bid her. And she had dressed simply for once, which, again, as we said when we were talking briefly about it before we recorded, that this is just, I think, so interesting that she's just in some riding leathers.
So, what I think the reason, because she also has a hood up.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with trying not to call attention to herself.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And knowing that she's pretty aware of who's watching her.
Yeah.
And this is the way that she could have a private meeting with Ned. Without having everyone
Cersei ain't wanting her shit followed.
It's really cool that this first one-on-one with Cersei and Ned, and as she comes up, she sits down.
And when she lowers the hood, Ned sees the yellow bruise from where the king had struck her. It's no longer purple, but it's still fucking pretty on there. And so she asks him why here, and Ned answers, "So the gods can see." And then she goes and sits beside him on the grass, and Ned notes that every single movement of hers is graceful as she sits beside him.
And it's the first time in a long time that he recognizes the beauty in her.
He's just seen her as this monster.
So what I was going to say right before, now that they're sitting, is that this moment between them is incredibly intimate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this strange, but it's so cool because we get to see Cersei playing the game.
This is one of the ones where, as great as they did in the show, I really wish they did this in the show. Like Lena Headey kills it in the show. I remember the line, especially the Game of Thrones line at the end. She delivers awesomely, but in the Godswood, sitting on the grass, her next not to each dressed other, in a gown of Lannister.
Just something more Lyanna-esque.
Very Lyanna-esque.
Oh, I didn't even think of that right now.
Like, and Ned seeing her beauty for the first time, probably since Robert and her's wedding.
Yeah.
Seeing her as this beautiful woman that she is, this lord's daughter, this queen, who is just this she's gorgeous. Cersei is a fucking hot-ass bitch. Like, the golden hair, the green striking eyes, like
the bone structure that's perfect.
Like Tywin, Jaime, they're handsome. They're a fucking handsome family, and so Ned think it's so significant that he's seeing her,
and how intimate this whole scene is. So he looks at her and says, "I know the truth Jon Arryn died for,"
and she's watching his face as weary as a cat.
God, she's fucking awesome. She's fucking badass.
Because, I mean, right there, he knows the truth Jon Arryn died for. I mean, she doesn't.
Exactly.
She doesn't know why Jon Arryn's dead. And she asks him, "Is that why you called me here, Lord Stark, to pose riddles? Or perhaps you mean to have me seized as your wife seized my brother?" And he says, "If you actually believed that for a second, you wouldn't be out here right now." And which is prudent.
And so now Ned gently brushes the bruise on her cheek.
Yeah.
And like, again, how intimately, and it's to me, when I say intimate, I mean more like he's brushing a daughter or his sister's cheek, and like does this happen often?
If things weren't as fucked as they were, this is the relationship they would have if him and Robert stayed BFFs.
And he was...
And there wasn't all this treachery. Ned would have this relationship with his best friend's wife, where if for some reason she had a bruise on her face, he would, in concern, rub her face, and he asks, has he done this before? And she pulls away from him from the touch and says once or twice, but never on the face. Jaime would have killed him. My brother is worth 100 of your friend. And she's defiant, of course, because it's Cersei.
And Ned blasts her with this fucking, your brother or your lover?
And she does not flinch, both. And says,
why not?
Why not? She just goes into it. Since we were children, the Targaryens did it. We are one person in two bodies. We shared a womb, and when he is inside me, I feel whole. And she has a ghost
of a smile flitted across her lips.
Which I think that's significant. It's either Jaime or her children are the things that will make her.
I think we'll see the turn throughout the series as it goes away from Jaime and more towards the children, and then finally to herself, probably. But yeah, I really liked that little, just the way it was described, a ghost of a smile.
And so we get it's starting to get more intense here, and we get my son Bran, Ned asks. And it says, to her credit, Cersei does not look away from him.
I love that, because Ned's the one to recognize an opponent and their strengths. But that's, of all the ones to know, that's a great one.
Saw us, Cersei answers. And then she very curiously changes the subject quickly and says,
She doesn't.
Well, not at all, yeah. But you love your children, do you not? And Ned answers, with all my heart.
Which is the exact same answer that he gave to Robert when he asked him in the chapter right before he went hunting. But
no less than I love mine. And Ned immediately shoots back, all three Jaimes, and it's not a question. And she responds, thank the gods. And Ned thinks about Jon Arryn and the seed is strong and the black hair, and how there's, in the book that he was reading, there's previous relationships between Lannisters and Baratheons where the Baratheon hairline wins out. It's a strong, dominant
it says
gene.
That the gold always yields to the cold.
Yeah, which is a cool line, yeah. But anyway, Ned asks, how is it that you have no children by the king? It's been 12 years. And she lifts her head, defiant. Robert got me with child once, but Jaime found me a woman to cleanse me. Robert never knew.
So if Jaime found someone to give her an
abortion, she just aborted it. And then we learn that I can't bear to have him touch me. And she's just repulsed by him. She's disgusted, and says that when he staggers into our room drunk after fucking some whores,
it doesn't matter what I do.
It doesn't matter how I finish him.
He'll forget about it by the morning, and just know that
she probably gives him a little HJ, or if he's coherent enough, a blowy. But that's it. Yeah, no, she does not let him fuck her, and does not want his.
I don't.
See,
I mean,
I
don't blame her one
Cersei's
little
not
tiny bit.
a good person, but I really can't blame her in this position. She was married to a man she didn't want, who doesn't want her.
Who clearly doesn't want her.
We learned,
Ned next asks, what did he do? Actually, that might be further ahead than I'm...
he feels sick after this revelation, at her revelation that
is right there, yeah.
Had an abortion, and
he asks what Robert did to make her hate him so much.
Well, because he remembers Robert on the day Robert took the throne. Every inch a king, regal, handsome, gallant, not all the women, but thousands of women in the realm wanted him, wanted to be with him, would have loved him with all their hearts. So why is it that you, of all these other women, detest him so much? What did he do? And we learn...
Again, I don't blame her for this shit, man.
Yeah, no, he kind of does something unforgivable. So her eyes burned green fire in the dusk, which, again, I don't want to pull things from the show, but if the show ends up going the way of her... potentially nuking the city with wildfire.
If the book goes the way of...
that's what I mean.
The show did.
Yeah, the show did. Because
the green fire, like these early chapters with
the wildfire is super interesting with Cersei.
Yeah, so that's sick.
I loved it, yeah.
But yeah, so on the night of their wedding feast, while they were making love with the stench of wine all over him, Robert leaned in and whispered Ned's sister's name.
Lyanna.
And
She says he did this while he was on top of me, while he was in me. So he called out the wrong name. And
Ned says he doesn't know which of them he pities more.
Well, it says Ned Stark thought of pale blue roses, and for a moment he wanted to weep. Because he knows at that point that Lyanna didn't want Robert.
Yeah, that Robert caused all this.
He called this name and really just defiled this woman on her wedding night. And it meant nothing to him, and it meant everything to her, or it should have, and it devastated her, clearly. And all of it because of a woman who didn't love him the way he loved her. And would have detested him. And so, yeah, Ned just kind of, I think, feels the full circle of that. These are still having repercussions to this day, where now a bastard of incest
is going to take the throne,
become
and
almost
kill
king.
Me.
Yeah, and he wants to weep, sort of. I think at just the
heaviness of what it's all.
And so he gives the line, "I don't know who I pity more," and she says, "Save your pity, Lord Stark. I want none of it." And he tells her,
"You know what I must do."
And she says, and this part blew me the fuck away.
Yeah.
Must.
She goes into attack mode.
And she puts her hand on his good leg just above the knee and says, "A true man does what he will, not what he must." And she begins rubbing her fingers, brushing his thigh, the gentlest of promises.
I don't know that I could resist if Cersei was doing that to me.
And she says, "The realm needs a strong hand. Joff won't come of age for years yet. No one wants war, least of all me." And she touches his face, his hair, and says, "Jaime has fled. Your wife is 1,000 leagues away. Be kind to me, Ned. I swear to you, you shall never regret it." So, she's just trying to seduce him. She's trying to, fuck the queen. You'll be rewarded. You'll be basically king in all but name. Fuck Robert. Fuck your friend.
You'll handle everything until Joffrey comes of name.
And then you'll be sad.
Forever.
Yeah, you'll be good. And you can go back to your
daughter,
wife.
Your daughter will marry my son.
Your wife will never be the wiser. And it's later and again, God damn it, I didn't realize I was going to keep doing this, but I know there's a point in the show where Cersei references Stannis when she's talking to Sansa, and I hope it's in the book, because she says, the Battle of Blackwater, she says, if Stannis takes the city, if it was anyone else, I might have the chance to go out and present myself and seduce him and maybe save ourselves. But with Stannis Baratheon, I'd have the better chance of seducing his horse.
Yeah.
I don't know why she thinks that it would work with Ned and over Stannis. And I get it. Maybe it's just pure desperation.
Right, at this point.
He just kind of laid it all out, and she's like, all right, fuck it. Shot in the dark. Either I have to have him, dealt with, or I can try to seduce him and deal with it that way. But that was a huge mistake, I think, as for Ned.
Because then he asks, did you make this same offer to Jon Arryn?
And oh my God, I want to just shake Ned's hand,
So, especially because she slaps him hard, and he looks
I shall wear
dryly
that as a badge of honor.
Oh,
just gives it right back to her. The same fucking line which she uses an empowering moment, and he uses sort of just sadly. And in this, you just made a terrible. We could have done this in a different way type thing is the way I took it.
But she goes
off
on him.
How dare you play the noble lord with me, Lord Stark? You have a bastard of your own. Who is this mother? Some peasant you raped? Or the grieving sister, perhaps, Ashara? I heard she threw herself into the sea. Why? For the brother you slew, or the child you stole? How are you different from Robert, or me, or Jaime? I thought as soon as she said Ashara, Ned was going to choke a bitch. Because, she goes right for that jugular.
Yeah.
And especially with everything on Ned's mind.
Not to mention how much he yelled at Catelyn for mentioning Ashara. Mm-hmm. We learned back in chapter 2 or some shit.
He shut that shit down.
The second that the rumors were popping up around Winterfell, he was like, no. Mm-mm.
And she hits on. she's closer than she thinks with the
stole your babies.
Just the bastard and the Ashara. Yeah. It's all connected with the Tower of Joy. and his sister getting her name called by Robert during their
just all the stuff that she's tossing around without realizing she's dancing on some nasty
and
shit.
So in response to her, how are you different from Robert or me or Jamie, he says, I don't kill children to start, and tells her, you must listen to me, my lady. When the king returns, honor compels me to tell him the truth. You and your children must be gone by then, not to Casterly Rock either. I would head for the free cities, perhaps, I lost my place. I would head for the free cities, or as far as the wind blows. Exile, she says, a bitter cup to drink from.
Yeah.
She has no intention of fleeing.
Absolutely not.
And he says, a sweeter cup than your father served Rhaegar's children, and kinder than you deserve. Your father and brother should join you. And gold will buy you comforts. Your father's gold will buy you comforts and higher guards, which you will need, because Robert's wrath will follow you.
And then she asks, what of my wrath, Lord Stark? And she tells him he should have taken the throne.
Yeah, she's standing at this point.
Yeah, so she stood up and she tells him, you should have taken the throne. Jamie told me about that day when he was sitting on the throne and how you came in. And
you made him yield it up.
You made him yield it, but didn't take it for yourself. And she calls it such a sad mistake.
That was your moment. All you had to do was walk up and sit down. And he didn't. And yeah, he says, I've made many mistakes in my life. That wasn't one of them.
He says, mistakes more than you can possibly imagine. But that wasn't one of them, right? And Cersei delivers it. The iconic line at this point.
But it was, my lord. When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. There is no middle ground. And she puts her hood up and leaves him there in the Godswood under a blue-black sky. And the last line of the chapter is, the stars were coming out.
Because that fucking line pissed me off. The stars were coming out. Because does that mean anything? Like, does that mean that perhaps he's seeing the start of a comet coming? Or, like, I don't know why it's talking about stars.
I don't know. I think it's
just some detail that Ned noticed.
I don't know, because it feels significant.
Right.
It really does as the chapter closer for that one. And I have no like, this is what I think it is or represents. For some reason, with the stars coming out, I think equates mask. Not for some reason, because her mask is starlight and shit, but that's just the only thing I can think of.
The stars are coming out.
Like,
but yeah, who knows?
The glass candles are lighting.
If you guys know, write in, tell us what you think. Do you have an inductee?
I have a lot. Like, I have fucking a million inductees in this one, but I 1,000% just gotta give it to Cersei Lannister, because she's a fucking... I mean, that intro, when she shows up and the clouds are all sunset ready over the Red Keep, and it's just casting this red hue, and the intimacy of it, and how it quickly turns from this sort of tender, caring scene to almost an interrogation scene to a fucking seduction scene, and then to just almost a fight scene where she's screaming at him, and it's all well done. It's our first real close interaction where we're hearing the words from Cersei's mouth directly in a conversation with her.
Yeah, like an extended conversation.
That isn't Tyrion and so we got a great look at Cersei. We got a lot more on the Fagon and Rhaegar situation. So yeah, Cersei, and I just love this chapter. So Cersei's my inductee to the Brotherhood.
Wonderful.
Who's yours?
So I have toss up between two. One is more of my... No, I'll just go with that one. So it's going to Fat Tom for moving up the ranks.
Fat Tom.
Man,
got a promotion.
That guy's just fucking climbing.
It's all these higher. These goofballs, like the fucking Jesus, what's his name? Mord just got a huge pay raise. And fucking Fat Tom now.
Fat Tom's getting head of household guard, man, of Winterfell. It's not like some little shit house. Like, you're the head of guard of Winterfell until Alan returns. He's not returning. My seriously serious one was going to be to Varys for fucking kicking it off, man.
Yeah.
Way back when, 12 years ago, getting that kid the fuck out of there. if what is said is true, so who knows?
He could be a Blackfire.
Well, our episode's running a little long this time, so let's spit out some socials, and everybody want to write in some emails to us. You can get us at withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/brotherhoodpodcast. We're on Instagram at withoutmannerswithout. No, that's my Twitter. My Twitter's at mannerswithout.
And I'm at Twitter at Carstark92. Kind of. I'm still learning my way around the Twitters.
I forget my Instagram right now, but it's all on the stuff there. We're on Patreon, patreon.com/withoutmanners as well. So send us some messages. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. Leave us a rate and review.
Oh, yeah, leave us a rate and review. Next time, we're going to be jumping across the narrow sea to join Dany.
Yes! Again, for such a great chapter.
Yeah, we get some prophecy nonsense and potentially the crowning of a new king. So, should be some good stuff. The number eludes me currently, but I want to say it's Dany 5.
I forget right now.
But it's a low Dany number. But
yeah, Dany hasn't had a ton of numbers, but it's going to be a good one. So hope you'll join us for that. Feel free to write to us because we love reading your emails and interacting with you guys. We look forward to hearing from you. It will be Dany 5.
Hey.
And we'll catch you on the next one. Valor de Harris.
Peace.
What's up, everybody? It's Nate here from Brotherhood Without Manners. I'm just going to sneak in and tell you really quick about this sweet app called Podcoin. If you listen to podcasts at all, especially Brotherhood Without Manners, all you have to do is download this app, download our podcast, put in the code Brotherhood, and you will get 300 coins. And you can spend those coins on all sorts of cool stuff. Gift cards, donating to charity, whatever. So give it a try. Let us know if you like it. We really enjoy using it for our podcast listening. You can get free stuff, so why not take advantage of something you already do?